Hey there, I'm Michelle, and welcome to the Leadership Growth Lab, the podcast where we ditch the leadership fluff and get into what actually works. If you're a new or emerging leader trying to figure out how to lead people without losing your mind or your integrity, you're in the right place. I've spent over 30 years leading teams, making mistakes, and learning the hard way so you don't have to. This isn't about motivational posters and feel-good quotes. This is real talk, real stories, and real strategies to help you become the leader you're meant to be. Let's get into it.
Good morning, leaders. Okay, so today, boy, I can't get off this topic of communication. I swear, it is like the thread that either holds everything together or causes everything to fall apart. Today, though, I want to talk about planning for differences in interpretations. So you may have every intent behind the message that you're sending. And as much as you try to filter that for all of the different viewpoints that might be reading that, you obviously can't come and think from everybody's angle because you are not everybody. So there are times when a message goes out, and despite your best efforts or even your direct report's best efforts, somebody reads that statement or whatever it might be, that message, and sees it from a viewpoint that is completely out of left field. Like you didn't, and even when you go back and like look at it again, you try to see like where where is it that they're reading into it that way. And the biggest thing is you have to remember that you can't plan for every contingency. You can't plan for every single interpretation of your message. You just can't. You need to be able to speak to your core audience. You need to be able to stick to your branding, your messaging, your voice, um, and then realize that sometimes there's going to be this off the wall interpretation that and sometimes that interpretation will come within your organization. So it'll be from somebody inside your organization who interprets it a completely different way than how it was intended. So I had this happen recently, and it was a completely benign message. And the person called it out saying that it sounded like it was taking a swipe at leadership and the organization when it was about not waiting to do things. And it had nothing to do with our organization. It was more pointing a spotlight on when it comes to planning to do things. Oftentimes, it's very easy to, know, find reasons not to do it and to put it off for the future. And how the lesson is there's never going to be the perfect conditions to do what you want to do or to do the things that you're planning on doing. There's always going to be something that makes it a reason not to do it. But does that mean that you shouldn't do it? Or do you do it anyway because you don't want to put it off forever? So that was really the message. But it was interpreted as saying that our organization was guilty of that, and that wasn't at all what it was saying. So it was difficult to kind of figure out where that was coming from. And, but at the end of the day, valid point, I didn't see it from that angle. So how you then as a leader, if there's something like that, because obviously our job is to monitor messaging and ensure that as much as humanly possible, we are seeing it from all angles and we are erring on the side of caution when it comes to that, because whatever's out there is our brand voice and our company voice. It's not just our voice. So we want to make sure that we're very careful about those things. And when you have something that goes a little bit outside those lines, how you respond ultimately determines what's going to happen next, right? So ideally, you coach and point out the exact thing that triggered that response, right? That triggered that viewpoint. Say, this is how I read this. This is where somebody could read this. And honestly, the recipient doesn't have to agree with it. They can be like, really, that's really a different take, whatever. What's the intent? But again, in communication, the intent doesn't always matter. It matters on how it's received, right? So having responding to that in a positive way and then coaching that in a positive way. Now, does that mean that that person no longer has proper judgment to do things? Does that mean that you have to review every piece of communication that goes out after? No. You have to coach and trust that they are going to pivot and ensure and be thoughtful. And if they have any question, if something's a little like, should I do it this way? That they're going to come to you and ask that question. But you still have to have the trust in that person. Because the moment that you pull on all of the purse strings or all of the puppet strings, whatever you want to call it, and now want to micromanage everything, that is going to stifle any creativity that this person has, any willingness to actually do the work anymore, because they're not going to want to do it when they know that it's going to be up for constant scrutiny and it's really going to end up being this back and forth. And it it's not necessary. You have to be able to understand that everybody's human. They all make mistakes. We all do. We all make missteps. We all make mistakes. We all say things that are misinterpreted, do things that are misinterpreted. And all we can really do is try to learn from it, grow, and try to alter our approach so it doesn't happen again. That's really all we can do. We're never going to be able to be completely foolproof. We're never going to be able to be error free. But you also don't want to have this culture within your organization that people like that it's not okay to make mistakes, that it's not okay to try things and maybe have a misstep that you can learn and grow from. You want your team to feel empowered to do what needs to be done, to grow from their errors, and to learn. That's what you want. So you can't micromanage everything. Not to mention, if you want to be so in control of those things, then you're gonna need to take them back onto your plate to do them yourself. Or you have to train, coach, and let go. Those are your options. So how have you reacted when a team member maybe has stepped out of bounds or had a misstep? How have you approached that? Have you pulled back on the strings and garnered complete control, micromanaging every step? Or have you had the conversation, pointed out the error, asked what they've learned from it, and then developed a plan to ensure that it doesn't happen again? Those are the things that you want to ensure. Now, again, you're managing performance, and oftentimes you want to monitor it, but you have to stand back and let them perform. If you stifle it, you have to let them perform. You can't stifle it, because if you stifle it, then what's the purpose of them being there? If you're going to have full on control of everything that they do and every thing that they output, then it doesn't make sense for them to be there, because you've hired them to do a job and you have to trust them to do that job. So, but it can be scary, right? It can be terrifying. Step back and let somebody make mistakes. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you as a leader, it comes back to you, right? If there's something out in the world, a client or whatever, they're going to come to you about it, regardless if it was your direct report that did it, regardless if you weren't the one who said it or you weren't the one that had any input in it. It's still your team member. And so you have to, I get that you have to protect yourself as well, but at the end of the day, it's your team. And you need to have their back. You need to be able to coach them, direct them, and then trust them to do the right thing and allow them to make some mistakes, allow them to learn and grow from those mistakes so that you can come out stronger as a team in the end. That is what I have for you today, leaders. I want to know from you, where have you maybe overreacted and like micromanaged a team member when they've had a mishap? Or where have you done it right? Where have you had a success story where you allowed somebody to have an error or, mistake, and they learned and grew and actually ended up being a stronger, more powerful member of your team because of that experience? Put it in the comments. Let's get our conversation going. That's what I have for you today. Until next time, leaders, stay positive.
And that's it for today. Thank you for being part of the Leadership Growth Lab. If you got something out of this episode, share it with a fellow leader and subscribe so we can keep growing together. Lead yourself first, everything else follows. Catch you next time.